All right, so before we get into the particulars of Aristotle's virtue ethic, let's make sure we're really clear about the assumptions that he is building his ethics on. Key assumption number one is this concept of telos, this idea that all the things that exist have an inherent purpose or design, and we can deduce that purpose or design by examining very carefully the thing under consideration. So we look at a hammer and we consider what a hammer is made from and how what it's made from is arranged. And we can deduce that hammers are good for pounding nails. That's in the design of a hammer. That's one of the things that it's good for. But it's not so good for slicing meat. A hammer is not good at slicing meat. When a living thing, according to Aristotle, is fulfilling its potential as the kind of thing that it is, he says it's flourishing. And when a living thing is flourishing, it's living the good life. Not just a good life, it's living the good life as the thing that it is. So maybe reflect back on the situation I presented you in an earlier thought primer with the Alaskan Husky Chuckles, who was confined to that tiny apartment in Phoenix, Arizona. And we'd say, all right, Chuckles, Alaskan Husky, is Chuckles living the good life? Is Chuckles flourishing as the thing that he is? And we might say something like, well, Chuckles might be living a good life. I mean, maybe Chuckles is perfectly happy. He likes his owner, companion person who takes him to the dog park and he gets to chase tennis balls and he likes eating dinner and so forth. But we'd also recognize that given the thing that Chuckles is, it's going to be hard to say that Chuckles is flourishing in that apartment because we know stuff about Alaskan Huskies and we know stuff about the physical environment. And we know that Alaskan Huskies tend to thrive when they're able to exist as a member of a pack of other animals, when they're able to exist in the snow, that when an Alaskan Husky with its big, thick coat is existing in Phoenix, Arizona in the summertime and is not able to go outside during the day, so Chuckles is going to languish in that kind of environment. Even if Chuckles is happy, Chuckles is not going to be flourishing as the kind of thing that he is. And we can say all of this, Aristotle says, because we know the rules of the game. In other words, we know enough about Alaskan Huskies and we know enough about the physical environment to know when these things are working in harmony with one another. And we know that because we've had experiences of Alaskan Huskies and of the physical environment, and we've interpreted what kinds of conditions allow the Husky and the environment to work in harmony. And harmony is going to be a really important idea for Aristotle. So remember back in our natural law theory exploration, we discussed the Fibonacci sequence, and we were talking about how there's this ratio, this proportion that's expressible mathematically that seems to be reflected in many of the things that we're drawn to in the world around us. And Aristotle had a similar kind of insight. Aristotle looks out at the cosmos and he says, okay, I notice that when things are really functioning well, when all of the things that exist are flourishing, it's because they're in balance with one another. There is an avoidance of excess and deprivation. Things seem to work best when things are in the right proportion. That would be the way to think about it. And so maybe think about it this way. As the thing that you are, a human being, if you're going to flourish, if you're going to thrive, if you're going to realize your potential, you have to have water. If you have too much water, though, you could die. If you have too little water, you could die. There is a level of hydration that is optimal for you. There's a level of hydration that causes your entire body to function in harmony, all of your cells to be in balance with one another. And for Aristotle, this principle seems to be pervasive throughout the cosmos, in all things, this quality of moderation, that things seem to do best, that things seem to flourish when they exist in a state of moderation. Okay, so then we say, all right, so I want to figure out how to act and what to do. And I'm going to rely on this principle of moderation in order to determine what I should do and how I should do it. And of course, Aristotle's going to say, yeah, you want to flourish as a human being. And in order to flourish, you have to have access to the goods of life, right? You have to access the things that are good for you. And we'd ask, okay, well, what is good for a person? And Aristotle's going to break this down into a couple of different categories. He's going to say, well, some of the things that are good for you are the things that you want that are kind of idiosyncratic to you. They're not universal to human beings. In other words, there's nothing about being a human being that would make you desire that particular thing. It's just based on your particular personality, you want that thing. So based on my particular personality, I want to go play the guitar. Based on your particular personality, you want to go play the piano. But there's nothing inherent to being a human being that would draw us to a guitar or versus a piano. The other kind of goods of life that Aristotle would point to, though, are natural desires. And these are not just the things that we want, like playing the guitar, playing the piano. These are the things that we need. They're essential. In order for us to flourish as human beings, we have to have these things. These things are inherently good for us. And so we think like, okay, I'm serious, so think about this for a second. If you're going to flourish as a human being, what are some of the things that are essential for you to have? And we might say, well, if I'm going to flourish as a human being, I have to have a healthy, functioning body. I want to have vigor. I want to have vim. I want to have vitality. I want to be healthy. And say, okay, yeah, if you're going to flourish as the thing that you are, there are certain things that you need to provide to your body in order to optimize its performance. And we'd say, well, what are those things? And we could create a list like this. You need food, you need drink, you need clothing, you need sleep, you need shelter. These are the goods of life. These are bodily goods. These are the things that we have to have in order to thrive and flourish as the things that we are. And of course, you can see with all of these things that are essential, it's possible to be out of balance with them, right? We can eat too much. We can drink too much. We can sleep too much. We can stay inside of our homes too much. Okay, so these things are the things that are essential for us to thrive as the things that they are, but we have to acquire them in moderation. Okay, and Aristotle's going to apply this same principle of moderation to how we should make decisions about how to use our minds in a way that allows us to flourish completely as the things that we are, and that's what we'll pick up in the next lecture.